Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today for our presentation on virtual prospecting for real results. Today, we have Rita Robbins, President and Founder of Affiliated Advisors, presenting this very important topic. Rita, I'll turn things over to you.
Thank you, Tricia. Welcome. I appreciate your spending time with us today. Since 1994, when I founded Affiliated Advisors, we've had one simple mission: to support advisors' success in helping them to build the business of their dreams while serving their clients with integrity, creativity, and compassion. What was true then remains fully in force and our guiding force every day as our team works with advisors to help them truly build the practice of the dreams. You know, Steve Jobs said that innovation is the ability to see change as an opportunity. And if there's ever been a need to change how we prospect, it is certainly this year, a year that we will all remember for the many changes that it has brought not only to our lives, our families, our communities, but our practices as well. Excuse me. Several months ago, our senior leadership team realized that to support advisors in the most challenging environment we will likely ever experience in our lives, we had to reach them and help them reach their client in different ways. And we started a quarantine series. These recordings will all be available for you to review and replay and listen to on our website, from how to emotionally connect with clients, business continuity, an extremely important topic and one that is so frequently overlooked by advisors, technology tips, insurance solutions, a whole array of webinars designed to help you thrive, grow, adapt, and change in these challenging times. Today, we're going to take a look at virtual prospecting for real results. You know, Fidelity recently did a study, and the result was, well, pretty much what we already know, that most advisors absolutely hate to prospect. They put it off, they don't do it, and they don't like to do it. I think we're at a really unique time right now, and prospecting in some ways could be easier than ever. I say that because for the first time, you will be invited literally into someone's home and they into yours almost instantly. Typically, just trying to set up an appointment with a client, schedule a time, and having them come to your office excuse me, can be so difficult. Now you're in your living room, they're in theirs. And we also have the ability, since we're working from home, to change the hours, the time of day, when, and not just how we reach out to new prospects. And instead of having polished, slick presentations and families of your photos, they're actually going to get to see you in your most natural surrounding, you know, and occasionally the dog wandering through or your child peeking their head around the corner. So it's really interesting that I think that the most basic things about prospecting are very simple. It comes down to three things: you, your ideal clients, and your centers of influence. So as we go through today's presentation, we'll address each one of these and hopefully set you on a path where you will enjoy and prosper prospecting. So I know why prospecting is so hard. Nobody likes to cold call. Asking for referrals can be awkward at best, although it doesn't have to be hard. So we hope as we run through the presentation today, you'll get some ideas and perhaps change your approach and your mental headset about prospecting. So what sets you apart? And that is probably a basis for the biggest challenge when it comes to prospecting. You know, there are 300,000 financial advisors in the United States. 85% of them are CFPs. So we pretty much all do the same thing, fairly similar solution sets, fairly similar products, platforms, pricing. So what is going to set you apart from your competitors, from the rest of the pack, and really enable you to prospect with confidence, authority, and competence? So very simply, this comes down to an internal communication challenge. And when I say internal communication challenge, It's the communication that you have with yourself, and then you will extend forward to your prospects. And the communication challenge is, what do you do? Who do you do it for? And how you answer the questions, what are your fees? In other words, if you can focus on developing a very simple and very sticky value proposition, I think that you will find your prospecting becomes much easier and actually much more enjoyable. So spend a few minutes, think about those 3 questions. What do you do? Who do you do it for? And that's going to refer to which clients do you do your best work for and enjoy working with the most. In other words, who is your ideal client? And of course, you have to learn how to communicate that your fee is important, it is relevant, and it is fair. So think about these 3 questions as you move forward, developing a prospecting game plan. So identifying your ideal client is really important because a lot of people believe that prospecting is throwing a bigger net into a larger body of water. And actually, I think it's the exact reverse. I think that if you narrow the focus to your ideal client or clients that match up with your specialty, you are going to find that the narrower your focus and the deeper your focus, and actually the tighter your net, the more successful you're going to be. I know advisors who've had clients on their prospecting email list for literally a decade. And instead of just deleting them, thinking about what their value proposition is and who their ideal clients, and going about identifying them where they are, or increasing their referrals, which is, in fact, a really important way to prospect. They keep throwing these wide nets into these huge seas and wondering why they're capturing nothing. So I'd like to ask you to think about that ideal client. And, some advisors say, well, I don't really have a specialty and I don't have an ideal client. I work with a variety of ages, different demographics. I don't really know what my ideal client is. And I would ask you to just think about, if you don't have a specific target market, who are the clients that you most enjoy working with? Who are the clients that you're happy to speak to, or that are the first to call when you have news that you want to share? And think about what that small set of clients all have in common. That will help you identify your ideal client. Another way to go about this, if you're kind of stumped for coming up with the answer to this question, is to think a little bit about who you are yourself. And that first question in the communications challenge about your value proposition, what do you do and who do you do it for? And oftentimes those 2 questions can be answered very easily by focusing on who you are and what you do and what your history, background, what led you to this profession? Because most of us have a story about why we're in this helping profession and how important our guidance and advice are to people in their lives. And I don't think that we spend enough time focusing on this. In fact, most marketing from advisors focuses on what they do. I still see websites and business cards that say mutual funds, variable annuities, retirement plans. Instead, I'd like you to think about who you are and what got you to where you are today. Because oftentimes that is a very specific market, and it's actually an area that you've become an expert in. I'll give you some examples of some advisors that we work with at Affiliated Advisors who have developed niche markets and become experts, and that has increased not only their growth of their business, but how they work with centers of influence and why their referrals continue to increase, and they thrive year after year despite what is going on in the economy and any other considerations. So becoming an expert. So perhaps you are an ex-Marine and you understand what the retirement plans and benefits are in the US military. Or perhaps you're a woman who went through an awful divorce and understand the impact that this can have on a woman's future. Perhaps you work with a specific type of occupation. We have advisors who work specifically with drivers from a nationwide delivery service. We have other advisors who work with union or city employees. So they have a very, very well-defined specific target market. And not only does that enable them to customize their messaging, in other words, going to where their clients are, but it also means that they have a real leg up when it comes to centers of influence. So often advisors say, I took this estate planning attorney out for lunch, or I met with the CPA for the 5th time. I'm sending him or her referrals, but I'm not getting them back. And it's really interesting that we often, obviously, when we're dealing with centers of influence, we want them to appreciate our expertise, respect our experience, and understand that we're knowledgeable, capable, and competent. But what we sometimes fail to do is to continue to move that conversation to a more collaborative and mutually beneficial place. And it's a question that you must be able to ask them and also be able to answer. And again, this is where your value proposition really comes in. So I work with airline pilots, and I understand every major airline's pension plan and option. I work with pre-retirees and, fill in the name of the large Fortune 1000 company that's near where your practice is. So if you continue to talk about who you are and not just what you do, and people hear it consistently, that is, again, how you're going to get referrals. Because remember, consistency is absolutely key to any kind of marketing, and especially when marketing for prospects and centers of influence. We talked about having these highly personalized emails and really how this piggybacks onto this idea of having a specialized, specific market that reflects who you are, what you do, and the kind of people that you want to work with. So the one size fits all, canned emails that get sent out really have very little impact. The more personalized you can make emails, you will have a 29% higher unique open rate and a 41% higher unique click rate. It's really important that when you spend time, energy, and money in marketing, that there are real results and has a real impact on growing your business. Again, instead of thinking about marketing to all, think about marketing to a much smaller, more relevant, more personalized set of prospects. So remember, there's a great intersection between what you think is important and what your clients think matters. And what's relevant to both parties is that sweet spot that you want to hit on. And while it's challenging sometimes to target in exactly on that, if you focus your marketing, your emails, your videos, etc., on what you can do for them, as opposed to just what you have to offer in terms of a solution set, I think you'll find it will really increase your return on investment when it comes to marketing. It is really important that we try different ways to reach people. And as this slide can tell you, 20% of people remember what they hear, 30% of people remember what they see, but amazingly, 70% of what people see and hear simultaneously gets retained. So when you're trying videos, and very successfully, some of our advisors are doing quick 2, 3, 4-minute videos that they send out, once or twice a week. It doesn't have to have huge production value in a professional studio, just sort of to say hello, touch base, let clients know that you're thinking about them, and that it's not always just in regard to their portfolios or their asset allocations, especially nowadays. But it's also equally important to remember that when you're prospecting, not only a great idea to do it through videos and webinars, but get people to attend, to listen, to learn about you by including a very meaningful call to action and not just saying, 10 tips to avoid when filing your 1040 this year. You know, your prospects, just like your clients, don't want to become experts in this subject matter. They're relying on you to know all the facts. You're the expert. They want to know how it's actually going to impact them. So, for instance, a meaningful call to action right now might be, how is coronavirus going to affect my retirement plans? The other thing I want you to keep in mind when trying webinars or videos as ways to reach your prospects is, don't be afraid to share the spotlight. Call in experts. Let them help you. We recently have developed a webinar series directly to clients that speaks to the topic of long-term care. And this is especially important to women who generally end up shouldering most of the burden of taking care of aging parents. This is a topic that can be very challenging for people to discuss. It's very worrisome to most people. And there's a lack of places where they can go to find out information in a way that makes them feel safe and secure and not foolish, because they probably don't even know where to start on this. So our advisors are finding that using experts to help them when prospecting has been incredibly effective and very, very rewarding. So here are some follow-up statistics, and this probably says it all about why it is so daunting to prospect. Well, I think the reason is that people do a very bad job of it, and they never follow up. So 48% of people fail to follow up with a prospect. Remember, somebody needs to hear your name or your firm's name 7 to 9 times before it actually triggers a recognition. So if you're going to give up on the first couple of tries that you have with someone, you're highly unlikely to ever turn that stranger into a client. 10% of all sales are made on the 4th contact, and a remarkable 80% are on the 12th. So the other way that I want you to think about following up is with your existing clients. And as you end virtually every call with your clients, and most of them actually are virtual right now, ask them if they have any friends or family members that are worried, that are unsettled by the economic and health conditions that we're facing. Do they have a family member who's been laid off or furloughed? Basically, is there anybody that you could help them with? And you'd be surprised that just offering to help, to be another set of eyes and ears, to just talk to, consult with, and advise people will instantly increase your referral rate. There's a lot of worry, there's a lot of concern, and you're in a unique position to be able to help people through these most challenging times. Thank you so much for joining us today, and feel free to contact us if we can be of assistance to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rita. And we actually did have a question come in before the beginning of our session. And this question is about getting started. If you had one piece of advice for an advisor to get started, how should they start with virtual prospecting?
Wow, that's so interesting. I would actually start with making sure that I understood how I was going to communicate what I do to virtual prospects. So I would answer those 3 questions. I would think about what my ideal client is, what I do, how I serve people. And I would start with referrals, or perhaps there's an organization or an association that you can start with. We have an advisor who works with veterinarians. It was very easy for him to get a list of all the vets who were within 75 miles of his practice and start sending them emails, or sometimes handwritten notes that said, you know, this changed in the taxation during COVID-19, I think will have a dramatic impact on your practice. Please feel free to call me. So think about who you are, what you do, what your ideal client is, and don't be afraid to try something unique, like a handwritten note instead of an email, or posting a webinar on LinkedIn with a call to action, or on your Facebook page. So there are a lot of ways to get started, but pick one that you really like, because you're going to need to be consistent about how you prospect, and you're going to have to do it frequently and well.
Great advice. Thanks, Rita.
Thank you, Tricia. Thank you for joining us today.